So, okay. So the only thing I'm thinking about is what we do about placement. Sorry.
Recording in progress.
Welcome, everyone, to the February 3rd, 2025 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Would everybody please join with me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Tice. Here. Alderman Weggie. Here. Alderwoman Sims. Here. Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder. Here. Alderman Erker, absent. 7 of 8 members are present.
Great, thank you. Next item is the approval or amendment of the agenda. Are there any changes to be made? Any objection to approving the same by acclamation? Seeing none, it will be so approved. Brings us down to the fourth item, which is the public hearing. We have 3 items. The first up is a public hearing on an ordinance authorizing a site development plan, approving a lot consolidation of properties at 2201, 221, I think it's supposed to be 2021 maybe, I'm not sure, 2113. 2201, thank you. 2201, 2013, 2019 South Brentwood Boulevard, 8814 Moritz and 8809 Bridgeport Avenue. Rezoning of 8814 Moritz Avenue from B Single Family Residential to the PD Plan Development Overlay District, and approving a comprehensive sign plan for the Brentwood Public Library. So with that, I will gavel open the public hearing. Anybody in the public care to speak to that matter? Now is the time to do so. Whitney? Hang on just a second.
And this monitor is not on over here too, so
Oh, yeah.
can you check this monitor as well?
Whitney Kelly on behalf of the City of Brentwood. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval at their January meeting by a vote to 5-3. The lot on Moritz that is currently zoned B Single Family Residential is previously redeveloped for the parking lot for prior tenants, and therefore we're just bringing it in to bring it all into one lot for the library. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Board have any questions? Alderman Weggie.
Yeah, representative of Arcturus.
Yeah. Can you just explain the big library sign and how that's going to be actually done in terms of orienting?
Yeah, and I have, well, so each of these bricks are.
Can you come to the microphone? That way
Yeah.
people at home can hear. Thank you.
I do have a small presentation if that would help with some of the illustrations, just to kind of demonstrate exactly how this, but primarily what we are doing is we are rotating the bricks to go ahead and create a textured surface onto the south facade. And through that texture, basically the words library pops up. So
I would be in favor of having the presentation either now or during the ordinance reading. Make sure we fully understand what that looks like.
I fully intend to have the presentation. And again, I'll leave it up to you when you would prefer to do it, either now during the public hearing, or if you'd rather do it when we have the first read of the bill. Whitney, do you have a preference one way or the other?
I can, yeah, I would just need to go ahead and grab my computer and
Sure.
set it up.
At the read? Okay, we're going to do it at the first read. So any other questions? You're going to get maybe some questions from the alderman at the time, but that would be more for the, this is more the time for anybody in the public. Do we have anybody online, Kelly?
Not that has their hand raised.
Okay. Well, then with that, I will gavel close the public hearing for this item, and we will discuss your proposal later on tonight. Thank you. The next up is public hearing on an ordinance amending section 400.1380 of the Brentwood City Code relating to conditional uses in the Planned Development Overlay District. So with that, I will gavel open the public hearing for this matter.
Good evening. Tamika Ward of Care Companions of Clayton submitted an application for an adult daycare center at 2570 South Brentwood Boulevard. It's currently not listed as a conditional use. There is the provision for private child daycare. So this text amendment allows for the use. They're still reviewing the site specifics at the Planning and Zoning Commission, but the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted to go ahead and move forward with the text amendment.
Okay. Any questions? Alderwoman Sims.
So this would be like a rezoning, and then we'd see the site plan later? Like that's still on planning and zoning?
Yes.
Okay. I
This
just
is a text amendment to allow for adult daycares within the same category as child daycare centers as a conditional use. Planning and zoning next week will be reviewing the site specifics, and therefore the site CUP for that will come before you after that.
Okay, that was my only question.
Any other questions? If not, we will close the public hearing on this matter. And finally, the last one is a public hearing on an ordinance approving a site development plan and conditional use permit for Expel Inc. for motor vehicle repair and washing at 1326 Strossner Drive in the LI Light Industrial District. So we will open the public hearing for this item.
Good evening. Expel and applicants are here tonight, but this is a conditional use. They provide a special coating on windshields and windows of cars. And the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. There is no changes to the exterior of the building or the site.
Any cars will be stored on site?
Just inside the building while they're being worked at, 2 or 3 at a time. And then they're delivered back to the auto dealership.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to speak.
You want me to present now, Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Dostler, we can wait till the,
First
till we
reading.
bring that up as well.
All right,
Thank you. Any questions? Not, we will close the public hearing for this item and then move on to citizen comments. Anybody in the public care to address the board, now is the time to do so. You will be given up to 3 minutes. All we ask is that you come to the dais or to the podium and give your name and your address. Just the podium, right? Open chair here, no. No, anybody in the public care to address the board, now is the time to do so. Anyone online? No one online? Okay, we'll move on to mayor and alderman reports. First up is the mayor. I have no report. Alderman Plufka.
I also have no report.
Alderwoman Tice.
No report.
Alderman Weggie. Alderwoman Sims.
The February Ways and Means Committee meeting will take place this Thursday at 5:30 here in the chambers. That's all I have.
Okay, Alderman Lockmuller.
No report.
Alderman Gould.
Yes, just as a reminder, we are looking for candidates, residential candidates that would like to serve on a committee. We have a communications committee opening. Our resident member has moved out of Brentwood, so now we need a replacement. We're working on all things as it relates to ordinances related to how the city communicates through methods and everything. And we're also working on a really exciting comprehensive plan right now for taking an audit and look at our branding and messaging. So it'd be a good time to get on that committee. If you have an interest in that field and would like to serve the committee, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, thank you for communicating that to the residents. Alderman Gould, sorry.
Well, I'll communicate further and say.
Hashtag dad
Yes,
joke.
yes. You can go on to the website and there's a volunteer form that you can fill out and then send to the mayor.
All right, and finally, Alderwoman Harder.
No report.
Okay, brings us down to the city administrator report, which we have none. Let's move down to the consent agenda. We have 5 items. Any questions about any of these 5 items or any requests to remove? Alderwoman Tice.
So I don't have a request to remove it, but item E, Resolution 1533, is a significant investment that the city of Brentwood is making, and so I was wondering if our police chief or majors or whoever's coming up could just address that for a minute, because it is a really good investment that we're making.
I think it's a wonderful suggestion.
Good evening. Last year, we identified an issue with our body-worn camera program. Over the course of the last few years, technology has evolved considerably, and the Panasonic system that we purchased in 2019 as part of a group of cities and a grant, really has run its lifespan. So and I tasked Angie Major Hawkins with exploring what the options were. And we were looking closely at a company called Utility that St. Louis City, St. Louis County, Richmond Heights, and St. Charles, several other police departments have this system, and they really like the system. There's several values that I'm going to ask Angie to speak to in a minute. Generally speaking, the new system, if we go to Utility, provides several officer safety benefits. I'm not going to go into those specifically. I'll let Angie do that, but I think that's probably the number one value to the system, is the manner in which the system operates, and we'll hear from her how that is an officer safety upgrade for us. I think there's also value to consider that in terms of a liability issue, these cameras, because of the manner in which they operate, take away the human element of turning them off and on. That's vital in today's policing, because it's very easy to sit here and say, well, police officers under fire, literally under fire, are capable as human beings of flipping the switch and turning these systems on when they need to. And in times of most critical that they need to be on, that becomes a challenge, just because we are human beings. So you will hear again from Angie in a minute about what the value of this system and its upgrade is in terms of when the system turns on, and why that's, we think it's a highly valuable switch and ask for the funds from the board to pay for this. So without further ado, Major.
Thank you. Two of the major competitors in this market right now are Utility and Axon. Axon is actually a bit more expensive and does not have the smart capability that Utility does. So one of the benefits of Utility as a provider of this service is that their platform is smart-based. So these are smart devices, much like the cell phones in your pockets and much like the laptops or tablets that are right in front of you. Because of that, the functionality of that program is extremely vast. The chief mentioned a couple of officer safety improvements, and I just want to highlight a couple of those for the board. The ability, when an officer is in a certain position physically, for an alarm to go off indicating that an officer is down, is one of the capabilities of this product. The capability of having holster sensors so that every single time an officer draws their weapon from their holster, the camera is automatically activated, is another component of this hardware, of this program, that we don't currently have, and that others across the market don't have as seamlessly integrated as Utility does. It's not possible, human performance-wise, to do that all the time. When we need to pull our weapons, that's our main focus. Through this capability, it removes, like the chief said, the human error there, or the human capability even, because I wouldn't even argue that that's an error. That's just what we're capable of doing as humans. That eliminates this. So in the event of a weapon discharge or any other issue with a use of force where an officer has pulled their weapon, that video is going to be accessible because it will have been recorded and documented. Finally, I want to comment on the integration between our computer-aided dispatch services and this software. And basically, when an officer arrives in a geofenced location for their respective call or assignment, the camera will automatically kick on. And so again, this removes a lot of the onus on the individual officer who has individual capabilities outside of those that are limited to our own human capabilities. And the software takes care of all of those things. I'm happy to answer any questions in terms of the other capabilities of the software, the programs. It does come in about 20 to 30 grand less than what Axon is selling their product for. And while it's kind of similar, they don't have smart capabilities like Utility does. And they're also at odds right now with a partner of ours, Flock Safety. So we kind of dodged a bullet in that regard as well.
One other thing that Angie didn't mention was we sometimes struggle with redaction. The system has automatic redaction, which is a nice value for us. But a last point, we were lucky to have the ARPA grants that bought vehicles for us, and we were able to use what would be typically money we spent on new cars for this project. So there are no new cars, police vehicles in the budget for 2025, other than the asset forfeiture car that we requested to purchase. Be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
What's the anticipated life on these, do you know?
So it's very similar to any other thing that we would get, especially as a smart device. The life that they've shown so far is anywhere from 4 to 5 years, and then they're rolling out new software. Hardware. They're rolling out new software constantly, so that part's really nice. So long as the physical hardware does hold up, they don't need to replace it. If something gets damaged or something like that, then it needs to be replaced. But other than that, it's mostly software upgrades that are being done. So best case scenario, it can last for up to 10 years.
Okay.
One of the components that they struggle with, or we struggle with Panasonic, is the batteries. Battery life is an issue.
Right.
Battery life in the system is much better and continues to get better. Single cities on their 5th year with the same system, so none of this technology is going to last forever, but I think that probably 5 years is a good guess when we start looking at the.
So do we start budgeting then for that, 5 years out, 10 years out? We thought about, I'm looking at Michelle, and Michelle's in the back there, or, yes, I'm getting the nod that yes, okay, well, that's been answered then, okay. Because it's a rather large expenditure, I just want to
The
make sure
chances of
that.
that with this system will be a bit more slim because it is that smart system.
Mhm.
So a lot of those upgrades and things that other places would have to push out, like if, for example, if we stayed with Panasonic that we currently have, they've already rolled out a brand new camera to us, and we've only been with them for this 2020.
Okay,
But it was an entirely separate camera system, and they're not able to just push a software upgrade through and have the changes made. So I'm hopeful we'll see some more longevity out of this
Great.
program.
any questions? Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Tice. Okay, any other questions about any of the items on the consent agenda? If not,
Motion to approve the
thank you.
consent agenda?
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka? Yes. Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. We have no old business, so that brings us down to new business, and the first up is Bill number 6541. Can we get a first read by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, sir, there is a typo in the title. The address should be, the second address. is
Thank you.
2211.
2211, okay. Oh, is this mic not on? Okay, if you could. Yeah. Is it on now? Okay, yes.
Bill number 6541, first reading, an ordinance authorizing a site development plan, approving a lot consolidation of properties at 2201, 2211, 2113, and 2219 South Brentwood Boulevard, 8814 Moritz Avenue and 8809 Bridgeport Avenue, rezoning of 8814 Moritz Avenue from B single-family residential to the PD Plan Development Overlay District, and approving a comprehensive sign plan for the Brentwood Public Library.
Thank you. Okay.
One moment.
Sure. If you could identify yourself.
And could you make that full screen too, please, if you don't mind?
Sorry. No, I'm staring right at it. Full screen crosshair.
Start slideshow or something like that.
maybe it's, there you go. Sorry about this.
Okay.
My name is Stephen Kessel. I'm an architect at Arcturus. So I have just a couple of remarks. First off, to the board, thank you so much for having us. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the Brentwood Public Library design team. It really has been a privilege to be able to work with dedicated members of the library board in such a wonderful project. Libraries, I think, we all agree, are vital to the health and well-being of the community, and the city of Brentwood's commitment is not only evidenced in their large amount of community engagement, but also recently with the passing of Proposition L. The Brentwood Public Library serves as a community hub for education, creativity, collaboration, promoting a lifelong learning commitment to bridging the knowledge gap for all populations. And so I'll quote Andrew Carnegie when he said that a library outranks just about any one thing a community can do to benefit its people. So looking at the site, the current site is at 2201 South Brentwood Boulevard, was purchased by the library board. And we, Arcturus, began to work on making the library a transformative, adaptive reuse of the former Retina office building, which is a modest 1959 office building that I'm sure many of us have driven by. The building is quite unusual in the fact that it has originally a garage on the first floor with offices on the second floor. Over time, this has been repurposed to be both two-height office space, posing some particular constraints on the design team. Our intention is to repurpose the existing structure, reducing the environmental impact by minimizing demolition waste and need for new materials, and transform it into a place that lives up to and embodies the library mission. The library began taking design cues from the existing building. The addition seeks to be respectful of its predecessor, drawing alignments for its windows, for its walls, repurposing the existing material palette, and yet transforming the building on how it fundamentally operates. Our approach with the Brentwood Public Library was to blend the old and the new, the traditional craftsmanship with modern design innovation, perhaps drawing a metaphor for how the library itself is a conduit between technologies and generations. At the east facade here that we see, we've removed the existing entry that the Retina office building originally had off of Brentwood Boulevard due to concerns with the proximity of the street. Instead of it being a main entrance, it is now a sitting bench where one can find a little bit of respite from the adjacent boulevard. On the north facade is largely untouched. We have added a new exit discreetly on the north elevation. On the top of the roof, you can see some north glazing bringing in the north daylight, which contains no glare and daylights the main reading stacks, minimizing the amount of electricity that you need for lighting. The west facade, you can see the original garage entry here, now a ribbon window. For those that didn't know, the existing ground floor structure was originally a car garage, meaning the library renovation has required some creative and I would say bespoke engineering solutions to ensure that the Brentwood Public Library would be a warm and welcoming space for all. These constraints specifically with the structure and the floor heights have required additional HVAC units on the rooftop, which we provided screening for. The current HVAC design reutilizes 3 existing rooftop units along with the addition of 7 smaller new units serving the addition and renovation. Each rooftop unit will individually control a zone or room via local thermostats. These will all get shielded with rooftop screens. And then here we can kind of see the overall northeast, south, and west corner. Of course, the south facade is the main drawing point. The south facade is a repositioned entrance in what we consider to be the new face of the Brentwood Public Library. The bottom store is floor-to-ceiling glass storefront, which connects the children's spaces, teen spaces, and a reading lounge to the exterior courtyard. The large storefronts elevate the second story, consisting of a custom brick articulation and a picture frame window. The custom brick wall contains articulated brick that undulates in and out to form large format typographical images that bear the letters library. When you put it into construction documents or 2D drawings, the contrast of the lettering can seem quite stark, But in reality, when using the same masonry material, it creates a subtle shift that is revealed mainly through shadow and perspective. If you move too obliquely, the lettering intentionally dissolves into a textured surface created by the brick articulation. Brick itself is an amazing foundational material in architecture. In St. Louis, it holds a special historical and cultural significance due to the city's abundant, rich deposits of clay. Prior to the arch, brick was the defining architectural element of St. Louis, and the city was known for showcasing its craftsmanship. Made available through the advances of technology and building methods, brick articulation architecture is an even newer technique that creates unique textures, patterns, and visual effects, creating depth, dimension, and interest into an otherwise flat wall. This technique is used to play with light and shadow, creating sunlight at varying angles throughout the day to create these dynamic facades, changing each hour, each day, each season for a new experience as you enter the library. We've gathered some examples of other projects using the same technique that you can see here. Again, it's difficult to capture this effect in 2D. Brick itself is a natural material, one with varying dimensions, one way or another, that come together to form a whole. The library letters may be more noticeable at certain degrees or certain angles, however, can disappear entirely if viewed from a straight on. This playful nature provides unexpected moments, provoking a sense of joy and discovery found within the architecture, a physical embodiment of the library's mission. The Brentwood Public Library was to blend the old and the new, the traditional craftsmanship with the modern design innovation. To achieve this look, we needed to design each individual brick along the facade. The design used was Franklin Gothic fonts, a landmark American typography, valued for its bold and clean design, as for a basis on how to sculpt the brickwork. The overall dimensions of the letters can be found in the Planning and Zoning ordinance. However, this is just a portion or of a composition of a larger 1,574 square foot brick facade that completes the composition. The lettering is merely just an absence of the brick's articulation and is not something that is attached or painted. Here you can see some of the specific construction details about how this is being achieved. Each brick laid out with the dark bricks that you see on the image being flat, and then the light white bricks are the undulating bricks that you can see in the left two images here. Again, we've drawn this facade many times through many iterations, looking at different ways to rotate the brick, how much the brick gets rotated to achieve kind of in what our opinion is the most desirable effect. The typographical image is not an additional device. It's not a fixture, a placard, or structure that is being attached to the building, but it's rather the building itself. The typographic lettering is not painted, nor do they protrude past the facade, but is instead formed by the absence of the brick's articulation. Again, I thank you for your time and can pass the floor on to anybody else who may have any other comments from the design team, but I would like to end on a quote from Albert Einstein, who once said, the only thing that you absolutely have to know is the location of a library. So, and then with that, I can also get into other things that the Planning and Zoning Committee was interested in, specifically rooftop screening or the site plan in general, but.
Why don't we wait and see if there's any questions specifically about that, but thank you, Mr. Kessel. Alderman Plufka.
Thank you, and thank you for that presentation. Is the signage internally lit?
No.
Will it be externally lit?
We will have sight lighting around, but there's no spotlights or anything like that on the sign.
Okay, so no lighting that's dedicated to illuminating that sign?
No, no, sir.
The trees that are drawn in some of the iterations that we saw on that southern approach, what kinds of trees are those? What kind of trees do you call for there?
The trees have like a maximum height of 12 feet. I can't, I would have to look through the landscape documents to.
Don't they appear in the drawings to be a bit higher than that? I mean, that's higher than 12 feet, isn't it? It's almost to the top of the second story.
I would have to double check with our landscape architect about the specifics.
And those are deciduous trees? Those are trees that are gonna lose their leaves in the winter?
I believe so, yeah.
So the only reason I was asking all those questions is I was curious about whether or not as those trees mature, I mean, they look like, will it be harder to read that sign?
Well, the one thing about the trees that it's providing is shade for that courtyard.
Sure.
One of the things we were a little bit worried about was the courtyard being too hot during the summer. And just having a shady space was one of the requests from community outreach that we performed. But we have worked with the landscape architect to try to minimize the ultimate mature caliper size of the tree and the total height of that tree. So we've kind of rendered it how the final design is what we do, and it's something that we can.
How many feet in front of that facade are those trees planted?
I would say, again, I would have to double check with our the drawings, but I think they're around 20 feet back.
So 20 feet separate the trunk of the tree from the leading edge of the southern elevation?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I would need to double check with those plans specifically, but it's around there.
Thank you again for your presentation.
Yes,
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Alderman Tice.
So I have a question about the trees and the sprinkler, and you may not be the right person to ask, but if I could get some information before next week, if you can't answer it. But there has been water runoff from this site with some neighboring homes, particularly in their rear yards. And I noticed in the documents talking about adding trees to be sure that there was adequate watering for the trees. So what's being done to keep the trees and other shrubs alive without drowning the neighbors' yards?
So one of the conditions for the planning and zoning is that as part of our project, obviously all the plants are dead or dormant now. But once contractors get on board, landscape contractors get on board, we will do a full survey of the existing kind of perimeter trees and plantings and replant anything that has not lived or has not been planted in the first place. And so we will basically bring up the entire site to compliance with all the previous planning and zoning plans. As far as the neighboring site, we've had our civil engineer as well as the Navigate engage them and talk about kind of the next steps and root causes for this. The civil engineer, we have had BMP practices for this site, so we are dealing with stormwater in that way. But I can figure out more specifics regarding the adjacent neighboring site as well.
That's great, but you are utilizing the BMPs for this
Yes.
larger site. Okay,
Yes.
that's great news. Good. Thank you.
The monument sign, I'm having a hard time accessing that on my iPad. So how many signs are there actually? Is it just the two, is it the monument and then the one that's on the side of the building?
So here's the two main signs. The one on the building is legally a sign, and then the kind of the lower concrete sign is an embedded concrete.
Okay.
So really low maintenance for the city, or sorry, for the Brentwood Public Library down the future. And then there's two smaller signs that are in the planning and zoning that are about 4 foot tall, just a vertical kind of signs to designate kind of at the curb cuts.
And where are those going to be?
They are at Moritz and Bridgeport, right at the curb cuts. So this bubble here that you see is one of them, and this bubble here is a second.
Okay.
And it's
So it's where the cars pull in?
correct.
There's a monument sign that's about 4 feet tall and about 4 or 5 inches in diameter or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's 6 by 6.
Okay, it just says BPL on it?
It just says BPL on it.
Okay.
And it's also non-illuminated.
Right.
It does have some dedicated lighting to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Whitney, at the P and Z, I'm having, again, problems accessing this. The vote was it 5-3?
Yes, sir.
And could you let us, do you recall what the rationale for the 3 no votes?
The biggest discussion was the large sign on the building.
Okay.
That constitutes a sign. It's 777.56 square feet.
Whitney, make sure you're near the microphone, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The brickwork that designates library is 777.56 square feet. Some of the members felt that that was too large. It effectively made a billboard out of that elevation. So I think that was the largest discussion.
And just for those who are watching, can you explain what a comprehensive sign package is and the need for it?
Yes. A comprehensive sign package allows for the applicant to submit for signs that don't meet the city's sign regulations, to ask for essentially a variance, but it's at the Planning and Zoning Commission and a Board of Aldermen for your approval.
Okay. I just want to make sure people understood that we don't have an ordinance that would normally permit a sign that size on a building. And that's why they're doing it through this comprehensive sign package.
Correct. The maximum sign area allowed through the regulations is 250 square feet.
Which is nothing wrong. I remember my days on P and Z, we dealt with comprehensive sign packages all the time. It's a very typical way to deal with that. Okay, just for education purposes. Okay, anybody else? Alderman Gould.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'll get you.
I'm sorry, go ahead if you.
No, I just want to
you were
say, I really like the sign. I just think it's a neat architectural feature that is really different. You don't see it, and it's not in your face, and I never even assumed it was a sign, because it's not like mobile, lit up or something like that. I just thought it was really neat looking, so.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Gould.
I guess the concern that I have is that we're not seeing the full comprehensive sign plan, and it's bundled up with all the other stuff. I mean, I feel like, is there a way to be able to pull this out of the ordinance so that it's a comprehensive sign plan by itself to have that discussion? The reason I say that is I feel like I've heard a lot of discussion about the concerns and the people for the aesthetics of this sign. It is a sign. It is installed because there's construction involved, there's material involved. As far as a language of our code, there's no gray area. It's a sign. The thing that it concerns me is that we're here as a board we've taken an oath to uphold the ordinances of the city. We are being put in a position to make creative judgments in this. That's objective analysis of ordinances. We're now being put into a situation, Planning and Zoning was put into a situation where they needed to sort of say, creatively, I like it as a preference, or I don't like it. And that's the reason why we would say yes or no. I haven't yet heard a reason that says we need to sign this big because it helps us achieve our mission. It gives the public better service. So I think it puts us in a position where we can't really apply logic and reason to a decision. And this comes from, I'm a designer, I'm an artist. When you use terms like kerning and leading and pixelating, I understand all those things. So this is from a creative, I want to separate the creative interpretation, what might be cool, what might be, hey, this is unique. That, to me, doesn't belong in the discussion of, it's more artistic. And if this were a freestanding art installation, we'd be having a very different conversation about this. I think that to hold up, there is also concern that I have that Planning and Zoning had asked the first time, and even some concern the second time, to say, hey, come up with some other options for this. I love the idea of articulating brick and making design and pattern. You could have done that with some really cool graphic and lines that then lead the viewer to a a sign that did match in the spatial requirements of the ordinance and achieve the exact same impact, is because it would be aesthetically unique. You could do articulation of the brick, create some really unique brand of it, and actually kind of modify. You talked about warm and welcoming. From a branding perspective, this is very different than the brand of the Brentwood Library. The Brentwood Library is warm and welcoming. It's like sitting at your friend's house, reading a book, and that's what people love about it. This is a very sleek, modern take on it that's trying really hard to do something with a big wall that I don't know is really what the community thinks of the Brentwood Library as. It may be the Brentwood Library as it evolves, fine. But this is advertising, and I'm in advertising. This is a sign, and I think it's one that we need to be careful. One of the no votes was from a member that used to be on this board, and I think that we need to get an understanding of maybe there was some intent behind that. So those are things that I have to say.
Just for clarification, Alderman Gould, are you suggesting or requesting that, the bill as it is right now, we're dealing with three subjects? One is consolidating the lots, another is rezoning one of those consolidated lots, and then the third is approval of the comprehensive sign package.
Two of them are very subjective, have very rational points to why. One of them's, very objective.
Right.
One of them is subjective based on preference and and aesthetics, and I don't know that that's something that we should be violating sign ordinances on, because it does set potentially a precedent. And I think the argument of, so I'd love to see you all continue to proceed down your process. I know you have a lot of work still to do. I'm sure all of these other ordinances, the lot consolidation, the rezoning, are very important to continue that process. I'd hate for that to hold up because we're trying to make a decision over a creative aesthetic.
Well, can I just add?
Yeah, go ahead. Hang on a second, Alderman Plufka. Yeah, Whitney, go
I
ahead.
did want to just add, it's also, the ordinance before you is the lot consolidation, the site development plan with the elevations, and the comprehensive site plan and that rezoning, and all part of that is the rezoning of the one residential lot. The applicants had indicated in the past that because the building, the signage on the building is a part of the building design, I don't know how we separate just the
I think that's
comprehensive
inherently the
sign
issue.
plan.
Right, that's inherently
Yeah.
the issue.
I don't know how we separate, unless the
and-
attorney
and-
has
and-
any ideas.
No, I think it's problematic that, because actually there's four things in the ordinance. There's the site development plan, the rezoning, the comprehensive sign plan, and the lot consolidation. Lot consolidation is a technical matter. The rezoning is judgment, but commonplace for you all. The problem is the site plan, of which the elevations are integral, and the sign is integral
To the structure.
elevations of the structure.
Alderman Plufka.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, this is on the agenda here as first reading.
Yes.
There is not an anticipated second reading tonight.
Correct.
With all due respect, Alderman Gould, we're way ahead of ourselves here. You're jumped into discussion and conversation. These folks haven't had a chance to make that presentation. He was asked specifically to answer questions about the signage, and that's appropriate given the first reading nature of this. I appreciate your opinions, but we don't even have the motion in front of us to discuss as to what is the motion. Are we going to separate these out as four separate acts? Are we going to put them together and combine them in two and two, or all four together? All those things are there to think about. And with all due respect to your opinion as to the design and its compatibility with the building and with the surroundings, Your Honor, I believe we're premature on this, and we ought to confine ourselves to asking questions of the applicant at this point.
Okay. Can I respond to that?
Of course.
The only pushback that I would have is that they've had two planning and zoning meetings where this was requested of them, and they did not come back with an alternative. So
Time to
I
bring
have
that up is
watched
next
those.
The time to bring that up is the second reading.
Okay, and then I'm giving you a heads up that you would probably want to be prepared at the second reading.
Alderman Lockmuller.
But isn't it, without making the motion, can't we at least ask the city attorney how the process would work? We have to, I mean, we can have that discussion at the first reading, can't we?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So how would that, if we wanted to separate the comprehensive sign from the site plan?
I'd like to, as opposed to drafting it on the fly,
Oh, sure.
I would like to take a look at whether we can craft language that says we're approving the location, dimensions, bulk, height, access points for the site plan, but not the elevations. In order to peel off that element, and, I try to find an amendment to the bill that would do that for your consideration at second reading. How I would do that, I don't quite know yet, but my goal here is to do what you all want, so.
Alderman Weggie.
Yeah, I viewed both of the planning and zoning meetings about this and have been observing the process as we go as well. I think it was a totally valid request to ask the architects to scale it down and find a way. And I believe them when they say that because of the resolution that bricks are a certain size, that there was not a way that they could make it smaller and still make it look okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. I was really kind of motivated by one of the members of Planning and Zoning, who is a professional architect, and I really do respect his opinion and his service to the city for as long as I can know, honestly, probably decades. Really compelling reasons why he thought this was a great design and was going to create an iconic building in Brentwood. So I'm excited about this. I think this is an opportunity for us to use our discretion, to use what we think is in the best interest of our city, to make something really, really cool.
And as far as the chair is concerned, I don't care if you discuss or argue this now before there's a motion to perfect. It doesn't matter to me when you do it. So I just wanted to lay that out.
I mean, you're speaking in my world now, so as it relates to resolution, one way you do that is to make your pixels smaller, okay? Resolution, their pixels are defined by a brick, a designated brick size that they've chosen. You want to reduce the size of the letters and not have it be pixelated or broken up, have it artifact look to it, then you figure out a way to create smaller pixels by using smaller materials to then articulate the curves and all of that. It could be done. It's just they don't want to do it.
Cost?
I don't know. This is unique building material application. I'm just commenting on how to reduce the size of letters and to keep the resolution that they desire. And that's one way to do it.
May I respond?
Sure.
Now you're getting into my thing, which is engineering. And no, you can't just make custom bricks and get them certified and all those kind of things. So I don't agree with that at all. I think they tried, to make the building look as good as it could. I believe this is the best answer.
Alderman Lockmuller.
Back to a few questions.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it looks like we're losing the curb cut there on Brentwood Boulevard, is that correct?
Yes.
That's a great idea. So the egresses will be off Moritz and Bridgeport, and it flows through completely? Okay. And then, Whitney, the reason for pulling in the residential, that back parking lot, that's residential B, was for what reason? For PD?
It's not used as a residence, and it was part of the Retina Institute. It really should have been consolidated when they all went in. It's all for this Brentwood Public Library, so it needs to be zoned properly for that use.
With the current buffer, the landscape buffer that's there now, if that becomes PD, doesn't it need to be 25 feet wide up to residential?
It would be pre-existing non-conforming
Okay.
at this point.
Good.
Because they're not making any changes to that area. We considered it pre-existing non-conforming. Doing the rezoning so that all of the lots are one lot and within the PD district.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much. We will take this up 2 weeks from today for the second read. 2 weeks from?
In a day.
In a day. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. On Tuesday, not 2 weeks from, 15 days.
I
We'll take
appreciate
it.
everybody's time.
Thank you. Brings us down to the second item under new business, which is Bill number 6542. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6542, first reading, an ordinance amending section 400.1380 of the Brentwood City Code relating to conditional uses in the Planned Development Overlay District.
Thank you. Whitney?
So again, the applicant submitted for a conditional use permit for an adult daycare. It is currently not listed as an allowed use. So we are including it as in the same category of private child daycare facilities. And that's what the text amendment is for you tonight. Planning and zoning recommended approval of the text amendment to go ahead and move forward, but we're still reviewing the site conditions for the conditional use permit.
What's the, how's L'Arche zoned?
That is B, single-family residential. So, yeah, this is an extension of that discussion at that time, so this.
Oh, because this is PD.
Right.
Okay.
It didn't.
All right. Any questions? Are we wanting just a first read tonight, right? I see that. Okay. Any questions on that? If not, we will move on. Thank you so much. Brings us down to Bill number 6543. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6543, first reading, an ordinance approving a site development plan and conditional use permit for XPEL Inc. for motor vehicle repair and washing at 1326 Strassner Drive in the LI Light Industrial District.
Thank you.
Just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Mike Doster. I'm the land use attorney on the development team for the applicant XPEL Inc., which is the petitioner asking for a conditional use permit in order to allow their use at an existing property. The building is 7,500 square feet. Actually, the 7,500 square feet is the tenant space at 1328 to 1330 Strassner Drive. No changes will be made to the site. No changes will be made to the building exterior. There will not be any signage on the building. Thought that might be important to say at this point. No signage on the building. There will be a sign on the front door. Customers do not come to this location. The vehicles that are serviced will all be serviced inside, and those vehicles are brought from existing dealerships. They're ported back and forth between the dealerships and this location. The proposed use is a low-level activity use, and the location and proximity to existing dealerships is very important to the success of the petitioner's business, since the business comes from dealerships. The business consists of applying paint protection film, ceramic coatings, and window tinting. Initially, it looks like there will be maybe 2 to 3 vehicles a day, but hopefully they'll get that number up to 4 to 6 vehicles per day. They operate 8:30 to 5:30, 7 days a week. They'll have 5 employees, 4 of whom will be the employees who install the coatings and the window tinting. One of the 5 will be a supervisor who also doubles as a salesperson, I should say triples as a salesperson and the porter of the vehicles back and forth from the dealership. We have read the bill, 6543, and we accepted it as it's been written. We are asking for a second reading this evening, and it's become very important to get the second reading because in order to secure the property, my client had to sign a lease January 20th at their risk. So they're hoping that we have a first and second reading this evening so we can proceed and hopefully open the business as soon as possible.
Okay. Quick question. When Whitney was talking earlier, she mentioned some of the window tintings. It's not limited to window tintings though, right? There, if I remember correctly from the P&Z meeting, it was a body covering as well?
There's paint protection and
Okay.
ceramic coating. So there are really three principal activities, and that can be explained in more detail by Derek Alvis, who is the Director of Installation for the company.
Okay. And these processes, they don't involve any hazardous substances?
Nobody has to wear a mask or there's no body shop work. It's
Okay.
want to clean as a sterile environment as you can get, considering touching an automobile.
And finally, no mechanical work will be done. Okay. Any questions?
I make a motion for a second read.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion for a second read and a second for the motion for a second read. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6543 by title only, please?
Bill number 6543, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance approving a site development plan and conditional use permit for XPEL Incorporated for motor vehicle repair and washing at 1326 Strasser Drive in the LI Light Industrial District.
Great. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6543 in the ordinance form.
So moved.
Second.
Good. Oh,
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 7-0. Oh,
Thank you.
wait a minute, and it becomes, wait a minute. This will become ordinance number 5169.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you. Members of the board, thank you.
Brings us to the final item under new business, and that's Bill number 6544. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6544, first reading an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, granting a franchise to operate a natural gas distribution system within the city to Spire, Missouri Incorporated.
Thank you, and I'm guessing this is Dan is presenting on this, no? You
Actually,
are.
it's me.
Okay.
So this agreement last was approved by the Board of Aldermen, March 21st of 2005. This is an opportunity to renew a 20-year franchise agreement with Spire, Missouri, and ordinance, rather RSO, the state statute, section 71.530 authorizes cities in Missouri to contract with corporations for the purpose of supplying gas. And the approval of this ordinance would allow the continued receipt of taxes from Spire, Missouri, which the city dearly needs. Within board docs, we provide the revenue that is currently collected by the city. I just left.
What is that?
It's
142,000, it looks like?
175,000.
Oh.
135, projected for fiscal year /25.
We collected last year through November, 142,000, projecting 175. And is that for all utility taxes or just on Spire?
This is for just Spire.
Spire, wow, okay. Okay, and you were wanting a
First and a second.
second read on that?
I make a motion for a second read.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6544 by title only, please?
Bill number 6544, second reading and consideration for adoption, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, granting a franchise to operate a natural gas distribution system within the city to Spire, Missouri Incorporated.
Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6544 in ordinance form.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka? Yes. Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, this bill will become ordinance number 5170.
Thank you. Next item is citizen comments. Anybody in the public care to address the board, now's the time to do so. We just ask you state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes.
No one online.
All right, seeing no further business before this board, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.